My wife took our daughter's trust fund and ran off with her lover. I was devastated until my 15-year-old. I always thought my wife, Julia, loved our daughter, Emma, as much as I did. That belief shattered the day I checked our bank accounts and found Emma's trust fund, every single penny of it, gone. At first I thought it was a mistake, but when I saw Julia's goodbye note, reality hit me like a freight train. She had run off with her lover, Darren, and taken our daughter's entire future with her. I stood in our empty house, my hands shaking, wondering how I would tell Emma that the mother she adored had betrayed her in the worst way imaginable. Emma had always been mature for her age, but nothing could prepare a child for this kind of betrayal. I tried to soften the blow, telling her that her mother had left for a while, and that we'd figure things out. But she wasn't stupid. "She took my trust fund, didn't she?" Emma asked, her voice calm but her hands clenched into fists. I nodded, my heart breaking for her. She sat in silence for a long moment before saying, "Then we have to get it back." I expected tears, anger, or devastation, but instead, she was determined. And in that moment, I realized my daughter was stronger than I'd ever known. Most teenagers might have spiraled into depression or rebellion, but not Emma. She dove into research, learning about fraud, asset tracking, and financial recovery. She spent hours reading legal cases, watching interviews with people who had been scammed, and even contacting professionals who had dealt with financial crimes. One night she sat me down. "Dad, we can't just sit here and feel sorry for ourselves. Mom committed a crime, and if the police won't act fast enough, we have to do something about it ourselves." I didn't know whether to be proud or terrified, but as I looked into her determined eyes, I knew I couldn't let her fight this battle alone. Emma wasn't just researching, she was tracking. Using old emails, transaction records, and social media, she found traces of Julia's movements. "She's being careless," Emma noted, showing me an Instagram photo of Julia sipping champagne at a beachside villa. The location was tagged. We finally had a lead. Julia and Darren were in a luxury resort in the Caribbean, living off the money meant for Emma's future. Emma didn't just want to find her mother, she wanted a plan. "If we expose her, we might force her hand," she reasoned. "If she thinks she's getting away with it, she'll keep spending until there's nothing left." I realized then that Emma was far smarter than I had given her credit for. As we dug through more documents, Emma found something unexpected. A transfer Julia made to an offshore account. This was big. Offshore accounts were usually used to hide money, and if we could track it, we might have a shot at reclaiming some of what was stolen. Emma reached out to an old family lawyer who had handled my late parents' estate. With his help, we discovered a loophole. Since the trust fund was in Emma's name and Julia had forged my signature to access it, we had legal standing to challenge the transactions. But legal action would take months. Emma wasn't willing to wait that long. "We need to put pressure on her now," she insisted. We flew to the Caribbean, staying at a budget motel while Julia and Darren basked in luxury. Emma had a plan. She would approach Julia as an anonymous journalist, pretending to do a story on successful businesswomen. The goal? Get Julia to incriminate herself. Wearing a disguise, Emma approached her mother, who, unsurprisingly, was more than happy to brag. "I just knew how to play the system," Julia laughed on camera. "Money is just about knowing where to take it before anyone notices." Emma got it all on tape. Emma uploaded the video to social media with the caption, "This woman stole her own daughter's future." Within hours, it went viral. The backlash was immediate. People bombarded Julia's social media accounts, calling her out for her actions. Even Darren, the man she had abandoned us for, suddenly distanced himself. And then came the police. Thanks to Emma's evidence, the authorities reopened the case, freezing the offshore accounts and launching a formal investigation into Julia's fraudulent activity. Just when we thought it was over, we got an unexpected call. The lawyer informed us that Julia had secretly kept a portion of the trust fund under a different alias, money that was still recoverable. However, we'd need Julia to cooperate to get full access. Emma wasn't done fighting. She confronted Julia in jail, facing her mother with a steely glare. "You took everything from me," she said. "But you don't get to win." For the first time, Julia looked scared. In the end, Julia had no choice. Under pressure, she admitted to the forgery and signed over what remained of the trust fund. She was sentenced to 5 years in prison for fraud and theft. It wasn't as much as she had stolen, but it was enough for Emma to start over. As for Darren, he moved on to his next victim, leaving Julia to rot alone. With some of the money recovered, Emma decided to use it to help others. She started an online platform dedicated to teaching teenagers about financial literacy and fraud prevention. "No one should go through what I did," she said. "I watched. My daughter turned pain into power, and I realized something. Julia may have taken our money, but she hadn't taken Emma's spirit, and that was worth more than any trust fund."